Hey there, I'm Kat, and this is Brews and Reviews. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing Waylander 2 in the Realm of the Wolf by David Gemmell. Now, this book is part of the Draenei saga, so I'm going to do a quick run through of when you should read this book, because this one has a lot of spoilers for other books in the series, and it's not one that you can just pick up, like, at random and not be spoiled for anything else. So, as the title of this book implies, it is Waylander 2, so you do have to have read Waylander before you pick this book up. Otherwise, you're really going to be clueless on who these characters are, what their relationships are to each other, and, you know, where everyone is in the state of the world. There's just going to be so much confusion, you have to have read Waylander. Now, if you're going to read the books in chronological order and you include Morning Star and Knights of Dark Renown in the chronological order, then you would read this fourth, so it would go Knights of Dark Renown, Morning Star, Waylander, Waylander 2. But if you're going to read it in publication order, then you would read this one fifth. So it would go Legend, King Beyond the Gate, Waylander, Quest for Lost Heroes, and then Waylander 2. If you're just picking these up at random and you just want to follow on with your favorite characters, then I still think that you need to have read Legend, King Beyond the Gate, and Waylander, because all three of those books kind of spoiled in this book, so you really have to have read them. So that's the reading order out of the way with what is this book about. So this book takes place many years after the first Waylander book, and Waylander is now going by his real name, which is Dakiris. He's retired to the mountains to live with his adopted daughter Muriel, who we did meet in the first book, but she was a very small child. She is an actual grown-up in this book, so she gets to be a character, which is very fun. But the book kicks off with a bounty being placed on Waylander's head, so his peace is kind of shattered, and the Assassin's Guild start to come for him. Now, I love this as a plot because trying to assassinate a master assassin is just hilarious to me, because Waylander is so unbelievably skilled that it's like, well, good luck, assassins. Good luck. One of the things I really love about this book is that you actually get to see Waylander being an assassin. Now, I know that sounds like the most obvious thing. He's an assassin. Seeing him be an assassin shouldn't be like this giant thing. But the thing that I so often find with books about assassins is that they have this skill set of being an assassin, and yet they're usually taken out of their assassin job and placed into some sort of quest that they wouldn't normally be in. And they're facing different things, but they just have the skill set of an assassin. The first Waylander book, for example, does do that. You see Waylander out of his element doing things that he wouldn't necessarily be doing as a job, whereas in this one, you do see him doing fake quest things and assassinating people who are trying to assassinate him. But there is a section in this book where you see how Waylander is terrifying as an assassin, and it's so cool, and I just really rate that, because it's really nice to see this master assassin just decimate some people. It's great. Another thing I really love about this book is that there is an old pit dog that has kind of escaped from the bear fighting pit and is nearly dying, and Waylander saves it, and there's this budding relationship between the dog and Waylander, and it's so cute. I am an absolute sucker for old, like, gruff, kind of mean dog with old, gruff, kind of mean man. Just put them together, it's great. I really like that we got to see more of the 30 in this book, but more so that you actually got to see them having a debate about whether it's right or wrong to have done what they did in the first Waylander book. And their discussion on, is it morally okay for them to defend the defenseless? Is it them acting for the source to do that, or is it them betraying everything that they should be holding to as priests of the source? And I think that's a really good dynamic to have with this set of warrior priests, because morally it is definitely a struggle for them, and given that they were only newly established in Waylander, and in this book is only the second time that they will have been called on to act, I think it's such an interesting discussion. And the way that this plays out just sort of sets it up for how the 30 will play out in future books. Obviously, if you've read Legend and King Beyond the Gate, then you've seen the 30 more than once and know how the order runs. But I just thought it was really nice to have that debate and the questioning on morality. Another thing that I really love about this book, and David Gemmell's Draenei saga in general, is that you don't always stay on the same side. There are various different races of people in the Draenei saga, and you're not always fighting for the same side. And I really like that, because the enemies change. In this book, the Wolf's Head tribe and the Nadir are very prevalent, and a couple of our Draenei heroes are working with the Nadir as they are being attacked by the Gothir. Technically, the Draenei are off fighting their own battles against the Gothir. They're doing a bunch of other things, and half of this story is just really focused on the Gothir trying to eliminate the Wolf's Head tribe, and it's just really interesting, especially because you get to see Kaisa Khan, who is a shaman, and you've seen him in Waylander, and he's against Waylander, and now it's like they're working together in this one. So everyone's allegiances are kind of up in the air and trying to do the right thing, I guess. But it is something that I really love about these books, and it's that you get to see everybody's perspective and not necessarily agree with their perspectives, but it is really interesting when you compare trying to save the Wolf's Head tribe in this book, and then in Legend, the head of the Wolf's Head tribe is trying to invade Draenei. So having that different perspective just makes this all so much better. Now there's another story that is very prevalent in this book, and it's about Muriel. And essentially she has grown up into a woman, but she's been living with her dad in the mountains. And then two men come along, Angel and Center, and they're both very skilled swordsmen. They used to be gladiators in an arena, and they sort of end up in the team, in the gang, shall we say. And there's the possibility of romance between Muriel and either of the two men, and I kind of want to talk about it because David Gemmell romances are very interesting to me, and I have noticed this with a bunch of the other books in the Draenei saga. And I do think this is a common thing in adult fantasy of this time period anyway, so I'm not specifically saying that this is a fault that David Gemmell alone has, but I just want to change the ages of the characters. If Muriel was a little bit older, or if the other two characters were a little bit younger, I think I could get along with this a lot better than I can. To be honest, in my head I just changed the ages. I'm just like visualize them being like slightly closer in age. I just feel like the age gaps don't really work for me, but it is a thing that happens in high fantasy. It's just something that I don't personally love, and I just wish the women were a little bit older and the men were a little bit younger. I don't necessarily have a problem with the men's ages. I just wish the woman had been an adult more, and you know, that's all I've got to say about it. The actual romance is not bad. I don't mind the actual romance, just, you know, let's make them a little bit older. I kind of love that Muriel and Center have a kind of enemies to lovers thing going on, where she's initially like, I am repulsed by you, please get away from me. And I don't know, I feel like the romance dynamic definitely works within this book, just older. Now I think I'm going to move into a spoilery section, so if you haven't actually read this book, then I'm going to start spoiling some things that happen, so you might want to leave. If you do, leave now. I rated this book 5 out of 5 stars, and I really loved it, especially for all of the things that it foreshadows and talks about other books in the series, but it does make it like a book that you have to have read other books with, so that's like the only downside of it, that you have to come into this one at the right point in the series, whatever point it is that you've decided from the many options that I gave you at the beginning. Anyway, 5 out of 5 stars. If you don't want spoilers, bye to you now. Okay, let's talk about spoilers. Karnak the One-Eyed. Now, Karnak is a great character in Waylander. He's the leader that the Draenei needed. He is kind of power hungry. He's definitely got faults in Waylander, and I feel like the progression of his character into this book, where he has sent assassins after Waylander because his son killed Waylander's other daughter, Muriel's twin sister Krilla, I feel like that is so plausible because Karnak was always really, really concerned about maintaining his grasp on power, and him having also had the Duke of Bronze assassinated because he was trying to hold on to his power. This man is very consistent in his faults, and I love it. Even in the epilogue of this book, right before the epilogue, Waylander has saved Karnak. Karnak's like, we're friends, we're gonna end this on a good note, I'll remember that you saved me, Waylander, and then Waylander's like, no you won't. And then immediately next page epilogue, Karnak got paranoid, tried to send more assassins after Waylander, oopsie daisy. I really love that, and I do love that Muriel ends up finishing him off in the end. Also, I'm not sure I'm going to circle back to Karnak's son at any point in time, but the thing that happens to Karnak's son Bodolin is so cool, and I love it. It's horrific, but great at the same time. He goes down into this fort and he is trying to collect this crystal for the guy that he is working for, and he sort of like falls asleep, and then his body starts to meld with like 3 other guys, and they become like a melded monster thing. I've tried to describe it, like I have a very clear visual in my head, and it kind of reminds me of the monsters in the game The Forest, if you've ever seen that, like with so many hands and legs and stuff like that. I just think it's really cool and accidentally horrific, and the visuals of people wandering around in this really warped castle with this warped monster is just really cool. I haven't talked about the main villain of this book, and that's Xu Chao, who is a Chiatsa wizard who's working with the Gothia, and his aim is to just accumulate a lot of power. He really wants to get this crystal that is in the fort that everybody ends up in at the end of the book, and he really, really wants to eliminate the Wolf's Head tribe because he once tried to get power from Kaisa Khan, and Kaisa Khan was like, no, I don't like you, there's something about you that is just wrong. So he left, then came back to try and steal something from Kaisa Khan, and then Kaisa Khan gave him a case of Theon Greyjoy, took away something that Xu Chao was really not happy to have lost, shall we say. So this guy is a little weasel, and I really dislike him, but the fact that Waylander assassinates like everybody around him, and he knows that Waylander is coming for him at the end. It's just so like mwah, chef's kiss for me. It's so good. The fear in this man. He sells his soul just to try and live out the day, and it doesn't work for him, and I just think it's so good. I feel like David Gemmell has this knack for making these horrible like villains and then giving them just rewards. They deserve the things that are happening to them, and I just think that's great. I also really like how complex the character of Kaisa Khan is, because at this point in time he's a really, really old man. His powers are sort of deserting him. He's on his last legs, and he's trying anything he can to keep his tribe alive, because he knows that from the Wolf's Head tribe is going to come the Uniter. Now the Uniter is the person who's going to unite all of the Nadia tribes and then like lead them to a great victory. And this is why you have to have read Legend and King Beyond the Gate, because you're gonna get spoiled for those books if you didn't know. So Kaisa Khan has looked into the future, and he knows that the ancestor of Ulrich is going to be within the people that he's trying to save at this point in time. So he enlists Muriel, Santa, and Angel, and he's trying to get them to help keep his clan alive. Kaisa Khan also knows that Muriel is going to bear the line of the Earl of Bronze, who are naturally Ulrich's enemies in Legend. But the moment where Dardalian tells him, you didn't look far enough into the future, it's not Ulrich that's going to be the Uniter, it's his grandson. And grandson by way of Ulrich's son marrying the Earl of Bronze's daughter? It's perfection. The way that he starts panicking that he's tried to kill Muriel, and he's like, oh my god, I've accidentally done the one thing that I'm trying not to do. I'm trying to keep the Uniter's line alive. It's just perfect to me. I love it. This man is so twisty and has so many secrets, and the way that that just sort of comes out, and Dardalian's like, you're an idiot. And it's like, great. I love it. Switching tack. One thing that made me sad, the dog dies. I mean, I know the dog died in a very heroic fashion, but I want the animals to live. I love Scar, the dog, and Waylander, and I'm sad that he didn't make it. I really enjoyed reading this book, especially because it had all of the different references to mystics trying to work out what is going to happen in the future and trying to change history to make sure that certain things happen and things go in a certain way. And I just really like that manipulation, because people, if they had the power of foresight, would definitely try and change things to be like, I like that outcome, and I really like how it all melds together with everything else that has happened. I just think it's a really good book, and I'm really glad that we got to see Waylander again, because I think it would just be a waste to never have had this character again. And I also like that in the afterword, Gemmell says that he received a letter about Waylander, and somebody had said, I don't know how this man, like this assassin man, could raise these two small girls. And I just think it's a really interesting route to have taken, because Muriel is badass. I do love her, she's great, and I just really enjoy this book. So thanks for listening to me ramble if you've made it this far into the video. I hope you like this video, and if you do, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!